We're back on the job of Wilddog prep. There's like 3 or so weeks left, I don't know. But it's coming up real fast and I've still got a lot of jobs to do. So we're gonna get cracking where we left off last week. First job is we've got to check the center. So if you watched last week's video, you know that we pulled the rear diff out. Mainly I pulled the axles out to check for twists in the axles. And then I pulled the center out because it's not that much harder, just to give it a check over. Yeah, so we've got 2 twisted axles. I should have some chased up, which I should be getting today. So I'll check over that center. We're checking just backlash tolerance and run out tolerance. And then hopefully I can get these axles and then slap all this back together. So I've got a dial indicator set up with our mag base onto the diff here, and I'm just checking backlash. I'm pretty sure it's 0.15 to 0.2 of a mil. I don't really care if it's a little bit tighter than that. Not too much tighter, but maybe between 0.1 and 0.15. It's only going to just wear it out a bit quicker, but chances are I'll break something before that anyway. So somehow we need to hold this. It's sort of hard to get it takes a couple goes to get a nice accurate reading. If I can zero that. You got to be careful that you're actually measuring backlash and not rolling the diff back and forward. So it takes a bit of time to nut that out. And it's good to check in multiple spots. So check this spot, you know, quarter turn, check it again, quarter turn, sort of check it in 4 or 5 different spots. And then that way you get a pretty accurate reading. So now I'm just checking run out. It's important to make sure the surface is clean there and smooth. And then yeah, just run the dial indicator on the back of the cram wheel there. And I think it's 0.08 is the maximum tolerance. And I've just run it up and I've got a maximum difference of 0.04. So it's well within spec. It's actually pretty good, to be honest. Even though I did have a bit of a difference in backlash. I had 0.14, 0.15, and around the other side I had 0.13, and then I got to 0.1. So it's a little bit on the tighter side, which is all right. But yeah, surprisingly it's running pretty true. Lifting these big bloody bastards in never gets any easier. Well, the rear center's in. I've got the locker on. It's been on for like an hour now, just to make sure there's no leaks. Spin him around. I'll keep it on when I throw the axles in and just make sure it's all sweet. And I've just been tinkering with the transfer case. It's pretty much ready to come out. I've just got to wait for an extra set of hands to help me lift it out. And yeah, we'll get that out and the new one back in. So it just splits here, just behind the gearbox mounts. There seems to be a little bit of water in there. Yeah, tail shaft's off, all the rest of the stuff off, breathers and whatever. And yeah, should be pretty straightforward to slip it off. So I found a fresh pair of axles. They look pretty good, nice straight splines and not much wear on the splines either. The ones that came out of here like had a fair bit of wear on the drive side of these splines, but they look good. So first thing I'm gonna do is cut this bit off to allow room for the second caliper, then pack some grease in them and send them home. Bit of grease in the bearings, using my favorite thing, straight in there, pack some grease. While I had my grease gun out, I just greased up the unis and the rod ends, so they're all right to go. I got a bit sidetracked and I haven't got the transfer out yet, but it's pretty much ready to come out. I did have to swap the rear flange with the other one, so I did that, and then there was a few other jobs that I was just ticking away at, and yeah, but that'll be next on the list, straight out next time I'm in here. I've sort of run out of time today, so I'm gonna shut her down and yeah, come back in here tomorrow. Well, I'm back at it and I'm just doing the 5-minute job that's 1 bolt away from being a 3-hour job. Goddamn bum stops. So I had to change one out, and of course both the bolts snap, even though I was being real careful. So I'm very close to just welding this one back on because I've had enough. I've had enough of that. It got the weld job. What are you gonna do? She's on there now. I have also got a package from the fellas down at Roadrunner Off-Road, where I get everything. Super quick delivery. So what we've got here is a set of genuine, actually they're Toyota radius arm bushers, radius arm to diff. I've got 4 of them. My missing tie rod from the other week, the tie rod end, if you watched a video from the other week. Australia Post lost one of them for me. I've got some rod ends here for the torsion bar sway bar, which I'm going to do some mods to that while I'm here. And of course, the good old red winch snatch ring. And I did get a rope shackle, but they're on back order, so hopefully that's here soon. But yeah, the snatch ring is unreal because super light, and the normal conventional snatch block, the ARB ones or whatever, which I've been carrying around, they take up a bit more room and they're heaps heavier. So super simple, match that with a rope shackle, and easy to carry around, easy to cart up the hill, and easy to use. So what I'm going to do with this torsion bar sway bar, as you can see, there's a torsion bar that runs through the other side. You've got your main arm and then your link arm. When I built this car, that was wrong from the beginning, but that ties into all my battery tray and things, so I've never changed it. It still works, but just doesn't work as good as it should. So what I'm going to do is cut another piece of tube. Hopefully I've got some here. I think it's 1 3/4 roll cage tube. I think there's some here somewhere. And then I'm actually going to move the torsion bar up to here somewhere, and then this end of this arm and this link arm, I'm going to mount it to the diff where it should have been from the beginning, and then this link arm will be vertical and should work far more efficiently. So what I find is, because it's mounted to the control arm and the angle that it's all on, it sort of initially leans a fair bit before it takes up, and because I like to run the car a little bit higher so I'll get a bit more up travel, yeah, I thought just before we go racing I'll shift that sway bar, and it should tighten it up a little bit, so then we can corner a little bit faster. All right, well, the sway bar's out. That's what it looks like. There's obviously another arm up that end, same as this one, which is right here. But that's all it is, just a bit of tube that runs the whole way across, and there's a bushing in either end that picks up the torsion bar. And yeah, it's pretty simple really. So all I'm gonna do is cut another one of these tubes and probably move it up to here somewhere. Got a nice, pretty easy line across there, weld it back to the chassis and then put it back together. So hopefully it's as simple as that. And I've got to weld these onto the diff. These are the mounts for the bottom. I've got back up, and instead of cutting up a bit of roll cage tube, we have used a bit of 32 NB mild steel and then machined the ends out. Got the machinist on the job. Bingo. Oh, yuck. Inch of mud in there. It's all good. Gross. Oh, just slipped straight in. Bloody beautiful. Well, the transfer case has been put back in, so I've just got to put some oil in it, change oil in the gearbox. I've just drained the front centre just to see what that's like in there. It all looks good. And this is what the sway bar ended up looking like. So come up real nice square on there, mounted to the diff in here. Some 4 new rod ends, so it's nice and tight. I'm actually looking forward to driving it just to see what sort of difference that makes. You can see how far we moved it, probably 300 mil, 250 mil. And yeah, it's gonna work better mounted to the diff and with this nice and square. So we're still kicking along with the jobs. There's still a few left. It's still certainly another full day in it. But I'm going to have something to eat, and I'll come back here in the morning. Well, I haven't been filming anything today because I just haven't been doing anything that interesting. What I have done though is just sort of cleaned. It's hard to clean that up, but anyway, it was pretty bad before. It's nice and clean now. 2 new fuel lines there, a new breather line, new locker line. Just clean all that stuff up. Some of it was a bit damaged. The breather line actually had a hole in it, so that would be where my water's coming from, getting in there. All the fronts back on, tail shaft and exhaust back on from the transfer case. I haven't done the radius arm bushes yet, but that's something that I'll get to. So I've just got the seats out. I just cleaned the cab out. There was literally half the bush in it. It's a pigsty on the floor here. Now I am doing some mods to the old Super Center compressor. It just randomly stopped working right now. But yeah, figured out it was just something to do with this. So the compressor itself's fine. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that. Jesse's given me one of these solenoids and just going to make our own wire and loom and switching setup for the compressor and then piss that off. So if you have one of these compressors and it randomly stops working, the compressor itself's probably fine. It's probably this banger that's playing up. And I'm just going to wire in a lower pressure switch, a 70-100 PSI one. These cut off at 125. But I've seen like it gets to 110 PSI and it just struggles to get that last 15 PSI. And it just like keeps running and it drives me insane. So yeah, put a lower pressure switch in. I don't want to go too low on the pressure switch because that is actually a backup compressor for the lockers and the winch in case the one on the back here plays funny buggers. So yeah, 70-100 is plenty enough pressure. But it's all looking good. So there's only one weekend left. And during the week, I'll try and button most of this up, and next weekend, hopefully one day, finish the car completely. And then that gives me a day just to pack the stuff, maybe load it on the trailer, get it all ready, just so come the following Friday when it's race day, I don't have anything to worry about. I don't want to be doing stuff the night before. That sucks. So I'll wrap this one up here. There'll be one more prep video after this, obviously getting the rest of it buttoned up and getting it race ready completely. So stay tuned for that. And then following that will be 3 Wilddog Winch Challenge episodes. And also there'll be 2 episodes from Easter coming up whenever I get a chance to edit them. So stay tuned for all that and we'll see you then.